Hey folks, welcome back. It's Triple Crown here coming to you from Vancouver, British Columbia. This is a round 5 summary of the Global War 1939 playtest series. Here we go. Another fascinating, interesting round. Lots of crazy stuff happened, or good or bad on both sides. We'll start off, as everybody probably wants to know, we'll get right into the Eastern Front. So what is happening over here? Well, the Italians had can opener, so the Germans had come through. They had taken Kiev and they moved all of their fast movers into Oleg Kursk, and the Russians did not have enough to counterattack. Currently numbers were even when they went in, but Russia would have been attacking with infantry at 1, and it just wasn't not enough. So they decided to build in Moscow. Next turn, the Germans will have all of these guys that are in Western Ukraine, which is this territory here. That's like 20 infantry and about another 10 fast movers that are on the stack that are going to be joining the fray. So that is huge, and that will again bring almost parity. Currently Russia has about, because they did a build there and brought everybody back home, they've got about 44 units to Germany's 29 now. So what does that mean? Well, it means that, and they also built a fortification, you can see there, that Russia is on the defensive. They have defensive units back home, and Germany it's going to be a battle of attrition. And look at over here, you can see the Italians have come into eastern Ukraine and took out lone Russian infantry. So Stalingrad is on the table. Currently, the Russians have 5 infantry there, and there's a fortification there. The Russians decided not to take a poke at Valkyrie. They backed out. They've got 3 infantry in Leningrad, 1 infantry in Karelia. They downgraded their factory from a major, and 1 infantry in Psycho. But you can see here, all of these Russian territories are empty. So next turn, you're going to see all of these Germans that are basically on the border are going to be coming in. So last turn, Russia made 51 IPP, so not a healthy economy, but for how much longer? So that's going to be a battle of attrition there. Well, what's happening on the Western Front is, even though I said I didn't care about Paris, well, you got to spend something there. So currently in Paris, on the counterattack on the Western European territories, there is a couple tank destroyers, a couple infantry, and a cavalry, and they got some of the Luftwaffe there that decided to fly home, a couple of veteran fighters, a tactical, and 2 medium bombers. And currently, because they've been getting the one freebie per turn, they have now a Hedgehog in each of the territories, and also a coastal gun, which fires at the ships doing an amphibious attack. If 3 ships attack, I think they roll 3 dice at 3. So that's happening there. Over here in the Atlantic, well, the Canadians built another transport, an armor, and another infantry over here. The Americans are building transports now, and armor, and Marines to do an amphibious. They've got 7 transports there now, so that is bad news. And also down here, there's some Canadians in Rio de Oro. They can also do a landing in Paris. That's 5 infantry there. They can also join in the amphibious attack. So you're going to potentially see about 15 or 16 units landing in Western Europe next turn. So that is bad news for the Germans and the Italians. Good news over here for the British, who are utilizing their the 2 minor factories, one in Upper Egypt, one in Cairo. They built a couple of Lancaster heavy bombers and also annexed Turkey. So there's currently was a fortification here There's now 9 infantry in armor on the border of Bulgaria, which that is problems for the Germans because there is a minor factory and they need this minor factory to produce units to go and attack Russia. So the Germans already are going to have to turn around and defend Bulgaria from these pesky British who are making a menace in the Mediterranean. A little ping pong action happened here in Greece because the British had to take Greece to annex Turkey, and the Italians took it back. The British also did a landing in Corinth, so they now own Corinth. And the British also, they have 2 military bases in the Middle East, so they are producing infantry there. They are making a stand. They cannot go into Russia yet, and the new rules are play testing, which is the Axis have to control, I think, one of Leningrad or Stalingrad. So that's happening there, and which I don't know if I like that rule. Maybe I should make it territories. If they control, say, 5 or 6 Russian territories, they can go in. Still play testing that idea there. So, but currently here, these Lancasters can all make it here next turn and a counterattack should the Japanese come any further west. And there's about 4 armor here and about 6 infantry, an artillery, AAA, and some other Air Force. There's another medium bomber, a Wellington, a tactical, and 2 P-40s. So the Japanese, they might want to think twice about heading further. They might just want to save Calcutta. They've gobbled up all of India for now. The Japanese went in and took Sichuan. They just sent a token infantry there. And the Chinese are coming back to Sichuan because that territory is worth 3. So they brought all their fast movers, light armor, and cavalry. And they did a build of 4 infantry there. And the Chinese territories now, the KMT, are starting to shrink. They still have a stack of 12 infantry here, a fighter, a AAA, and an artillery. However, the Japanese have just built a horde, an absolute horde of infantry. I think there's about, can't even count. But anyways, there's about 14 units there. That's that black chip's another 5. So there's 7 there, 4 there, 3 here, and the whole Air Force. So that is a major problem for the KMT next turn. The CCP did take, they actually own these 2 territories. I just don't have a roundel on them. So they actually have 6 IPP to spend next turn. They've got a nice little stack of army happening here, but it's not going to hold once the Japanese start coming. I'll clean all this up after. Of course, I knock it all over. But down here in the Pacific, the Australians, they built a military base and produced a unit there in the Dutch East Indies. They've got a coastal gun on the Dutch East Indies, a coastal gun in Java, a coastal gun on Dutch New Guinea, because the Japanese are slowly, they took Sumatra last turn and Borneo and Brunei, so they are slowly gobbling up the money islands and getting rich. And they've got transports everywhere. So you can see here, they built another horde of infantry to dump off on the mainland of Japanese-controlled territories next turn, or maybe head down to the Philippines or wherever they want to go. The Americans, because the Japanese did not build Navy last turn, the Americans decided to come into Midway, which there's an air base and a naval base there, and their Navy is currently a little bit larger than the Japanese Navy. However, the Japanese have first build, and they can always just retreat to Season 124 if they choose to survive and fight another day. The American landing force is only 4 units, so the Americans have been spending all their money in the Atlantic. However, I just want to point out, if the Americans, whenever Japan does this to Calcutta down here, China and the KMT, or the KMT and the CCP and Russia, if they want to, they can explode. And if they decide to explode and push the Japanese back to the coast, if America simultaneously, along with the Australians and New Zealanders, all start coming up that can put a world of pressure on the Japanese, and they just can't fight on all fronts. So America could still decide to go more Pacific, but as of now, they've spent their resources in the Atlantic, so we'll see. What would you do, folks? Would you go Pacific or would you go Atlantic for the Americans? America, they had to roll a 9 or better to join the war. They had 71 on the AICM tracker, and they rolled an 11. So they would not have moved here otherwise. I guess they could have still moved there, but so America's now in the war, and things are about to get interesting. Is this where the Allies regain the foothold the Axis had, or is this where the Axis say it's too late and pedal down, and Moscow's going to fall, and Leningrad or Stalingrad's going to fall, and then the Germans and the Italians are going to be able to annex Sweden and Spain, and that is going to be ugly in the Atlantic for the Americans and the European allies. So thanks for watching, folks, and stay tuned for round 6.